Look, I spoke about this a bit in my editorial, but the BBC is in turmoil this week after top executives resigned following revelations that the broadcaster had doctored a speech by Donald Trump given on January 6 before protesters stormed the Capitol. The BBC has now apologized to Trump, but it says that it won't pay him the compensation he wants. Brianna, you've written a piece this week on the Federalist about this whole saga and why maybe some of the same detractors in the US should follow suit. What did you say?
Yeah, BBC executives, now mind you, they're taking the least amount of accountability that they should be taking, but it's still more accountability than broadcasters here in America have taken over the past decade, right? We've seen American broadcasters spread the Russia collusion hoax, the Kavanaugh rape hoax, the children in cages, the ICE agents whipping migrants. The list goes on about hoaxes they perpetuated to try and harm President Donald Trump or his legacy. And never are they fired. In fact, most of them are winning Pulitzer Prizes. They're getting promotions, raises. So they're actually rewarded for improper journalism.
It's very similar to here in Australia, as I also pointed out at the top of the show. We've got our own public broadcaster who hasn't taken responsibility for some of the fake news narratives they've been pushing. Do you think it's likely that Trump will follow through with this $1 billion lawsuit that he's threatening, given he's got the apology but hasn't got the compensation from the BBC?
I would like to see him do it. I think these left-wing progressive media outlets, and the BBC is, kind of equivalent to our NPR or PBS, but it really toes the line of being the progressive wing of the media over there. And I think there needs to be accountability. They can't just get away with this defamation and this slanderous actions and think that they can just say, oh, sorry, my bad, we're not going to do it again. That's not enough because they've done it for so long. So I hope he goes forward with it.
Yeah, it would certainly send a very strong message to the rest of the media, wouldn't it? Look, speaking of lefty media, take a look here at CNN host Abby Phillips and what she has to say about dealing with conservatives.
Conservatives are living in a completely different information world than liberals. And breaking that down needs to be done. Because when you don't ever even hear the facts, it's hard to even know that you're wrong. And that happens a lot. I mean, half of my job sometimes is knowing what the latest conspiracy is, so that if it comes up, I'm ready to address it. Because it happens a lot where people don't even know that what they're saying or what they've seen and believe is not true. I think that one time that that person brings up something that is debunked and false, and I debunk it at the table, might be the very first time that someone out there has heard an alternative point of view.
This seems very condescending, but Brianna, you've appeared on CNN many times with Abby Phillips as a host. What do you make of her comments here?
I would simply say I can count on my hand. There was one instance in which the Chiron on her show told me that young Black children were being zip-tied by ICE agents. That turned out to be a hoax. It was actually a police officer father arresting his adorable 2-year-old for being too cute. But they told me that that was happening. And then another time, there was a fellow guest, Ryan James Verdusky, on there. He talked about the Ferguson effect. Abby Phillips didn't know what that was, neither did the rest of the panel. So it's almost like we're actually informing them when they're locked in their echo chamber.
Yeah, I think she may need a bit of a lesson in misinformation by the sounds of it herself. Brianna, Lyman, thank you so much for joining me.
For having me.